place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Camp McIntosh.
Yes, it is Cam McIntosh, and I do have some really good news for those who are looking to maybe book themselves in a bed, but we'd love to have you. There are spots now available. We had a couple people, unfortunately, that had to pull out. Nice of them to do it early on in the season like this, so we have lots of time to fill those spots. But just so you folks know, if you are interested, Horwood Lake is completely booked, and we look forward to that in August. But in September, we're going to be back up at Camp McIntosh. That's all the information that you need. Andre and Tracy, of course, you've got the email there, the website if you want to just tinker around and tire kick, and, of course, the number if you want to get yourself booked in a bed. We'd love to see you up there. It is going to basically be the last weekend of September. A lot of details we'll post. In fact, I might even do that tonight just so that we get all the prices down and folks are aware of what's going on. But what a pleasure it is to have you guys along with us. I do believe we've got Jay coming up. We got Jim, and I'm not 100% sure, but Lawrence, I think, just texted me and said they didn't get the link. So let me try and redo that for him. Hopefully everybody had themselves a great weekend while I do this. Holy smokes, the weather, eh? Weather was incredible. All right. Yeah. Didn't. You know what's funny? And I shouldn't say this about Lawrence because God bless him, but the link is directly above his post. Hey, Scotty, I didn't get the link. It's like literally just directly above. Anyway. It's done. Here it is, and hopefully Lawrence will be joining us shortly. In the meantime, lots to talk about. Jim and I are probably going to be talking a little bit about the significance of that meme. Again, don't necessarily want to make light of it because it was a very, very serious situation that happened yesterday. And if you aren't aware of it, you're going to find out a lot more about it today. But yeah, those folks got lucky, man. Like, they got so lucky. Anyway, we're going to talk about that because, as I said, there's going to be some need to, and I think it's an opportunity that we can't pass up for the sake of a lesson, if you will. I mean, not. I don't want to turn it into a browbeating because I do believe that there was enough people up there that probably knew better than to go out there. But irregardless, I'm not here to judge. I just, they got lucky. They got really lucky, man. There was a lot of people on that ice floe that let go and started to flow out into bigger water. So we're thankful that didn't happen. How you doing, Adrian? Nice to have you along. Lloyd, always a pleasure to have you here as well. 5 o'clock, eh? 5 o'clock out in Saskatchewan right now. Really appreciate that. As you guys can see, and I'm sure you're experiencing, not only is the weather going up, but of course the sun is staying up a little bit longer with the time change. For those who had to spring forward, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And of course, your internal clock is on tilt. Hopefully, this will get you back in line. I'm just kidding. I'm not sure how it could possibly do that, but we're grasping at straws. We'll take it if it does. How you doing, Eve? Always a pleasure to have you along. Shills, yeah, baby. There's the big low. There's my buddy. How you doing, Shills? Nice to have. I'm doing fine, Adrian. I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to tonight's show as well as a few announcements and some upcoming stuff that's going to be happening. Really excited about all that. So stay tuned. We should have a few things to announce tonight. James in the house. How are you doing, my friend? There's the man, Jeff Porteous. Always a friend, my friend. Yeah, I'll miss you already too. And here's the thing. We are going to be back together. Jeff, the blonde wind is coming. We're going to be back again together at the Toronto Sportsman Show. And I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, if folks were down at the Ottawa Boat and Outdoor Show, they would have experienced the Made in Canada Tackle and Marketplace Forum and all of the vendors that we had there for those to enjoy. We are getting a similar venue, similar layout as we did at Ottawa at the Toronto Sportsman Show. Really excited to have Handlebars there, of course, with the entire Handlebars team. Canadian Tackle Supply will be there as well with a whole bunch of stuff that will be made available to those who are making tackle, modifying tackle, or perhaps just doing some custom work. Grandpa's Tackle Box. I love putting this video together. I've never seen a walleye hit a chatterbait like this one did. It came back 3 times. I didn't even actually get the first time on camera properly. The camera didn't upload, but it came back a 3rd time to finally hit that bait. So neat seeing it. I was happy as heck to have the video. There's Dominate Baits, and of course they're going to be down with us sharing some time. The good folks over at Adrian's Custom Tackle as well, and our good boy Adrian, who's on tonight. And last but not least, I can't thank the good folks over at Ugly Boys. Been with us from day one. Bruce and the entire family, the entire Downs family. Can't thank them enough for their support, but should be fun. Toronto Sportsman Show, 19th to the 22nd of March. Looking forward to that. And of course, Jim's probably going to be talking about the Belleville show. We've got CanCast. Aaron Dodds is going to be on, and I'm not exactly sure who he's bringing other than the one and only Kyle Carruthers from CanCast. We're going to be talking about that on the 25th. We're going to be rehashing a little bit about the show that happened last Wednesday, and a big shout out thank you to Ian and of course Christian De Silva for joining Danny and I. We got some good insight when it comes to how we're going to get that next generation of anglers passionate about fishing and passionate about volunteering and helping out, because again, there's lots of stuff that we need to get kids involved in order for, because every time I take I know you've heard this a million times, but every time I take a look around, what do I see? A lot of us old farts, and I mean that with all due respect, but we need that next generation. We really need that next generation in a huge way. Let's make sure that we continue down the list. Ed, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. May, yes, unfortunately, May was one of the ones, unfortunately, that backed out at Camp McIntosh. So she's made her bed available to anybody who wants to join. I got that message from Tracy on the weekend. Sorry, we're going to miss you, May. Would have loved to have seen you there. It's going to be a fun time, and we'll be doing it again. So if anything changes, make sure you give us a call. You've made room, so there's still room available, as you know, but I'd love to see you up there in September for all those who have now got an opportunity because of May. God bless you, May. Yeah, baby. Joe's in the house. How you doing, Joe? Just got back from Vegas. Wow. You survived Vegas. Wow. Well done, Joe. Good for you. Not many do. Glad to have you with us, buddy. Daryl's in the house. How you doing there? Nice to have you along. Again, 5 o'clock out in Saskatchewan. Talk about commitment. My CO2 smoke detector were chirping me this morning. Someone forgot to change the Good. Good segue. Good rule of thumb when we do have these time changes. That is usually a perfect time to change all the batteries on your CO detectors as well as your fire detectors, if in fact they aren't all in the same unit. You can buy them all as one. They're actually relatively cheap. They plug into a wall mount outlet. Sometimes they're fixed on your ceiling, depending on how you want it, how it works for you. But again, it's not something that we could be without, of course, with the summer season just around the corner, as our good buddy the groundhog would tell us. We're going to have fires. We're going to have, barbecues. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. A working smoke alarm is integral to your survival. I'll say that because it's very true. But you got to have one. And good memory, good reminder there, James. Thanks for that. Oh, it takes one to know one, Jeff. That's all I can say. Takes many ideas for Saskatchewan. I bet you do, Daryl. I can only imagine. Mark Wolf, are you still using the extension out on Lake Nipissing? I'd be interested to hear how the ice is up there, because Jay and I are going to talk a lot about it. Jim and I are going to touch on it, but I can't imagine that there's going to be any workable ice down here. I don't even want to say the word, but usable ice. Just saying, I still, attaboy, good for you, Keith. Keep up the work, my friend. Yeah, it might be hurting a little bit. Can't imagine why, Joe. Can't imagine why. Anyway, needless to say, yeah, it's all in today's show. All of which that we're going to be talking about. First and foremost, if you didn't see the video, listen to our good buddy Terry Snyder give his. And I will say he is probably more a critic of himself than anybody else. But let's hear how his recipe with Catch and Cook turned out.
So here we go. Big test. Catch and cook. Let's try your mixtures. Home run.
Home run. You know, and really, at the end of the day, that's all that needs to be said. For those who aren't aware, Catch and Cook has become the number one fish fry recipe for CFN going forward. We're very proud and happy to have them along with us. And needless to say, our CFNers are doing some fantastic stuff to get the word out there about Catch and Cook. And our good buddy Jay Siemens is going to be joining us at not only the Toronto Sportsman Show, but also at CanCast. So there's going to be lots of opportunity for folks to go up and talk to him. And if you have a bag in tow with you, that would be even better. I would love for all CFNers, if you can pick up a bag of Catch and Cook and head up to our good buddy Jay Siemens. I'd be really interested to see how many of you get a signed Catch and Cook bag, or even the spices per se. And Terry did a wonderful job with all of the coatings that were made available. And I want to thank Catch and Cook for giving us this opportunity to do so. But he tapped into all the spices, all the seasoning, all the coatings, and he's made quite a recipe. So for folks who have not seen this yet, I invite you. I might change it around a little bit just to feature a little bit more of some of the ingredients. But again, Terry did a wonderful job, and I believe Nicole was his cameraman. So Nicole, God bless you, you did a fantastic job. This is tartar sauce, but you hear Terry say it, tartar sauce. It doesn't matter how you say it, but it's pretty straightforward. It's relish and a little bit of mayonnaise. You might want a little bit more dill in it, some garlic, depending on what your flavor is. But needless to say, this was quite a recipe. That's some fresh walleye there. And I like how Terry dipped it twice. So he put it in, I believe this is the dill coating first, and then he put it in the roasted red pepper and garlic, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, he did the crunchy. That's right. He did the crunchy. So he did the dill and the crunchy. So this is actually very similar to what Jay has featured in one of his videos in terms of a recipe. But yeah, that's the crunchy and the dill together. Yeah, home run indeed. And then, of course, a little bit of tartar or tartar sauce, depending on how you say it. But Catch and Cook makes some beautiful stuff. If you guys are interested, by all means, it's available at Princess Auto. I do believe Jamie Stothart is also selling it. So for folks that are heading out to CanCast, you will see True North Baits there. And Jamie, I'm sure, will have some Catch and Cook in tow if you're interested in buying it off him. But Princess Auto has a good assortment of it and don't seem to ever run out, at least not the one in my neck of the woods. But this is quite a, oh my Lord. Terry, I did this to myself. I do these lives before I eat, and this is going to make it very difficult to get through. Oh, man. Yes. So I don't know what kind of bread this is. Terry, I'm sure if you're watching, you're going to slap me for not bringing this up. But this is, I believe it's a homemade recipe for the actual bread. But this looks absolutely divine. Jeez, man. Holy smokes, that looks good. Wow. Well, needless to say, all I swear Terry used every single seasoning that I gave him, and of course that is the final summation, the final thumbs up, if you will. He gives it 2 thumbs up, and then that is the end of the video. But if you want to hear Terry do what he does best, and he is the closest thing that CFN has to a Red Seal chef, and we're honored to have him because he put that video together, I want to say, the very next weekend after he got the seasoning. So Terry, thanks so much for doing that. He's got more recipes coming up, so stay tuned for that. He's always cooking up. What a mess he's always cooking up. It's just a mess of great stuff. Very lucky to have our good buddy Terry along with us. All right, without further ado, I think it is time to bring in the one and only, the man that we are all here for, Big Jim McLaughlin, right after this.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
There he is, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin. How you doing tonight, my friend?
Not bad, buddy. Not bad.
Attaboy.
No
We've got some editing to do. We've got to get a new intro for you, although I still love that intro. We got a couple fine tuning that we have to do, which I will get to.
Much more pictures.
Yes, we will definitely have to do that. Jim, I won't say that this was your view this weekend, but I want to say it was the view of people. I can't imagine how fun that would be, having to ride in that. But for those who didn't have to do it this weekend and are venturing out, I'm going to suggest that you're likely going to have to do it this weekend if, in fact, you are going out anywhere. But I'm sure, Jim, you might give them some other advice.
Well, you're probably not going to fall through because it just changed. You know what I mean? We had a couple of hot days. If there's that much snow and water and slush, you probably still got the ice out the back here. They told me that I think I measured it 2 weekends ago, was just shy of 40 inches.
Jeez.
So that's an exceptional amount because of where it is. There's no flow, whatever. But if you got that much slush, it's only been a couple of days. You know what I mean? You're probably still safe. And I ain't telling anybody to go because of what you're going to see next. But, smaller waters, stuff like that in the shoreline is what you got to watch. It's funny, in the fall, the shoreline is the place where you probably don't fall through because it freezes the edge first and gets thick. And you take out 10 steps and then, then you fall through. But now it melts away from the shore. I'm looking right at the seawall here today, and this far out from the seawall, it's melted. Wow. It was 20 degrees here today, and the sun's beating on steel. So, it's kind of warm, but it's the same old thing. Next year we shouldn't even talk about this next year because it just seems that regardless of what we say, the idiots are still going to be the idiots. And I know these guys that went out yesterday and got washed away on the ice floe. They didn't go out thinking that was going to happen. You know what I mean? But, I saw one guy post about that, and he said, they got like 50 millimeters of rain and had a 70K wind. And he went like this,
Yeah.
Big waters is where that happens. Like there's places in Lake Ontario here 2 weekends ago, they were ice fishing. It's wide open.
And this is the thing, Jim, and that's why I say, as much as we can laugh and joke about memes like this, it unfortunately is, as much as we can chuckle about it, there's a serious aspect to it, not only from those who were caught out on that ice floe, but those who had to go out and rescue them. And that's why, again, I don't want to laugh about it per se or make jokes, because at the end of the day, something very bad could have happened. I'm so thankful, knock on wood, that nothing did. But I will say there's a few folks out there that I recognize that, and I'm sure it wasn't the first time they'd fished that area, Jim. They probably know how skeptical that area can be.
Probably won't happen for 20 years again.
Yeah.
But it's just that and I always say, hey, nothing ever happens until it happens.
That's just it.
So it's
100%.
but it's just do you really need to go when you pick a different place? Pick a place where you know it's safe. Like I see the guys around here already talking about switching up and changing from, like from Big Rito or Mississippi or something and going north of 7, up towards Bancroft, like that. I'm not talking all the way to Bancroft, but that direction, just moving north a little bit, because you know what it's like. You drive 30 miles and it's a completely different world, right?
So let me throw this at you, Jim, because at the end of the day, it's no, not literally, not literally, but we see lots of the videos of folks down, maybe they're down 20 feet, maybe they're down 120 feet, and they're spearfishing on a reef. You have to know that there's an inherent amount of danger associated with that kind of hobby or enjoying that kind of sport. Because let's face it, a distressed fish can give off all kinds of signals to a hungry taxman. And we've seen lots of videos where people get, attacked. And I would have to say that it's probably not going to be well received. But my feeling for those folks out on the ice was very similar to someone that goes down and spearfishes. I respect the fact that they love to fish. I respect that they're enjoying our passion, but they're taking it to a different level. But they have to understand that if a shark was to jump out and bite you, you shouldn't be surprised. And in that kind of situation, with all the rain that we got and the winds, were you surprised, Jim, when you saw that? I wasn't the least bit surprised.
No, because we see it every year.
Yeah.
And if it ain't here, it's in Lake Erie or Lake St. Clair. It's just it used to be Lake Ontario. God, it's happened in Quinte. Except when it happens in Quinte, it isn't quite as bad because it's usually, one guy on a piece of ice he should never have been on in the first place. It's not something where he goes out in the morning and it all drifts away with you on it. I mean, remember that one they had in Lake Erie there a few years ago? There was 200 people on a piece of ice.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like, you can't foresee that. But everybody knows that big water and wind. Look at Lake Erie when that 80-mile crack opened up in it this year.
Yep.
You don't think this spring, when that eventually breaks up, if it hasn't yet, that's where it's going and it's going to go into two big pieces or something? It's
100%. And the videos and photos that are coming in all around Ontario. I don't have a lot from out west or out east, but a lot of these ice jams are coming in from all around Ontario. This is up in Meaford. And look at this mess of ice. Like, wow, holy smokes. And this is happening anywhere an ice flow is able to flow out into bigger water. But it's not, I don't know. I love fishing, dude, but this is not the time for ice fishing right now.
Nope. That's when you go north.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. Go away from big water or stay in the bay,
100%.
Kind of
Tony's saying that I'm ignoring him again. Tony, in all fairness, Tony, you're probably used to it by now. I'm sorry.
You on the the knife went in and got turned. Oh, Tony.
Well, he's warned me about this before, about ignoring.
Let me give you a hand to get up. My God, I
would not in a million years would I ignore you, my friend. Sonia, always nice to have you, as long as they got their cameras going to record. So
that's epic.
That is epic. Well said, Sonia. That is perfect. And to your point, there's a fire sale right now. If anybody can find that sheet of ice, there's a whole whack of fishing gear that is available. You've got live scopes out there. You've got flip over huts, augers. You got a whole mess of stuff. Not that I'm suggesting
stuff was left floating.
Well, this is what I'm saying. There was an awful lot of gear. In fact, some folks said there were live scopes left behind. Like, wow.
Well, I bet you there was somebody out there in a boat trying to scrounge that up.
I would almost imagine. I could only imagine. And it may have even been one of the folks that was on the ice and saw a thing or two that was left behind. Who knows? No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it happened on Lake Simcoe, yeah. But it happened there many years ago, too. Like 25 years ago on Lake Simcoe.
It has happened quite a few years.
They had the one where the ice went under itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when that wind does start to howl, how it starts to move, and we always see the video from Simcoe because the news people are so close. But when that ice starts to shift and get pushed up on shore, and it seems like it's never going to end, and whatever, it's pretty incredible. Nature is quite the beast. And
when I drove Tammy to quilting Saturday morning, I said, let's take the scenic route. And we went along the parkway, along the St. Lawrence, because I wanted to see if it was starting to open. It's still frozen up. But the St. Lawrence is still frozen. You know that there was guys so far offshore you could see the clams and Eskimos and everything out there, like red, blue. You know, you can see it plain today. I'm talking way out where there's wicked current. But they're probably local guys that have a pretty good feel for what's going on. There wasn't the regular array of huts out there, right? Just the odd one or the odd idiot, the way you look at it. That way too, to be that far offshore alone, because if you go down, that's it. Hey, you're absolutely done. But we're driving along, and you can already see on the islands for about 15 feet up the current end of the islands, all the ice being pushed up onto the end of the islands, which happens every year.
Yep.
It happens on every island. There was a cottage there years ago, just past Brockville, got cleaned right off the island. Like
holy smokes!
Yeah,
really?
it was a little island. The island, Scotty, was probably the size of my house here. Just a little island, and it was probably like maybe at the most maybe 15, 17 feet out of the water. And when the ice starts pushing, like the water didn't come up, it was just the force of it being pushed. It just comes along, goes up, it splits on the sides, and the bit in the middle keeps getting dragged, and it just goes up over the island.
Wow. Incredible.
It's what it is, yeah.
Mark, I noticed that you shared a Facebook link. I'm not exactly sure what that is. If this is Nipissing out from where my shack was, be a bit sketchy. Okay, so that's what it is. Yeah, absolutely. And Sonia is reminding us of that incredible dump of rain that we're going to get. Serena, I made sure that you qualified, just so you know that's done. And Alicia, nice to have you along, Alicia. As far as I know, you were supposed to go fishing with Jay this weekend, and that didn't happen. So I'm almost thankful it didn't, based on everything that I've heard. Jim, I wanted you to take a look at this. I know you like your panfish, and I know you like your bluegill, but I do know that you also love crappie. And have you ever caught a crappie this big?
That's a giant, eh? What would that be? It's probably like over 3 pounds.
I wouldn't even know, Jim. I don't even think I could take an
and
accurate
it's not
guess.
just the size of it. It's like this thick, eh? It's like stupid, eh?
No, it is Monster Monday, and we do like to share a lot of stuff from all over the place, whether it be this side of the border or that. Obviously, this is on stateside, but what a remarkable looking crappie that is.
That's probably out of one of those lakes down there. I forget the name of there's the one lake where they guide from. There's like 50 guys on the lake, and they take out 100 fish each a day. And like 100 fish will weigh like 210 pounds or something.
Jeez.
Yeah, they're all like they're like catching 15-inch bass. The place is just full. They have crappie tournaments, and it's just wild.
Well, you know what, John? It's your 37th birthday, and on behalf of Jim and myself, happy birthday and all of CFN.
In fact, it's a special day today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
John, that doesn't happen very often, so you are a certain special kind. Well, all right. Well, now it's going to happen every episode. Everybody's going to say it's my birthday, and Jim's going to sing for the whole 2 hours. But John, wouldn't you have loved to have?
Don't quit your day.
Yeah, wouldn't you have loved to have seen that crappie at the end of your line? Happy birthday, indeed. Yep. No, the river was blown out. What a mess. Yeah, what a mess. Certainly
across the parking lot. Yeah.
Oh, it's just like. Anyway, it's that time of year. It's that time of season. We're now getting ready. Exactly. You've got it in your hand. This is what we're starting to get ready for. This is what we're starting to get antsy for. You have a show, I believe, this weekend down in Belleville, Jim, that you're going to?
Yeah, I'm going down to the Belleville show. People don't realize how big it is. It gets more people than the spring fishing show gets. Like people have no concept. The more people I talk with every year that end up coming in because we have the seminar area right at the front door. It's great because we get to meet a lot of the people. You know, they sort of got to walk past you to get in. You know, depending what door they go to, because I think they have access from the front and the back.
Right.
But it's at the place is absolutely well. It's where the Senators farm team plays.
Yep.
At the Belleville Bulls and all the other teams and what I mean, it's a huge facility. It's got that big Olympic swimming pool there. It's got their Olympic sized. It's got all kinds of stuff in there and everything. It was it's really, really cool. It's really, really cool. We always get to meet a lot of great folks there. And there's almost everybody that's anybody will be there with stuff, you know. There's lots of stuff there, the dealers, boats, all kinds of stuff.
And this is a relatively newer show. It hasn't been around forever. It's a relatively
been around forever.
Oh, it has been around forever.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go.
Here, I'll check. I'm not sure what year it is. Because I remember Jeff calling me and saying to me, "Are you going to be? Would you be able to come to the show?" And I think I don't know if I was still fishing tournaments, but it was a long time ago, buddy.
There you go. Wow. Because it seems to me that it really started to make waves. I want to say it was just after maybe it was just after COVID. During.
Well, it started getting bigger, right?
Yeah, because it okay. So something had definitely happened because I want to say in the last 6 years, 7 years, maybe it has really exploded in terms of popularity.
Like there's the floor plan.
Wow.
Like look at all the hockey rinks and big meeting centers and stuff in there. Does it say what it is here now? It's this weekend, so if anybody wanted to know, and if I go to the home page, 26th annual.
Where you go, 26th annual. Wow. I stand corrected, but I will say in the last little bit, it has really started to explode. I know Chonger had a big hand in that. I know you helped.
Well, it's his little area because I used to be a standalone thing, and then I don't know what happened. I didn't go for a couple of years. I just couldn't make it. There was things, and then Dave and I talked about it. So Dave called him and said, "Hey, if I bring Dan with the Live to Fish booth and put up the little display for Z-Man and whatever and all that stuff and everything else, you know." And then he asked me, "Would you come and join Dave?" And I said, "Yeah, fuck, I got no problem with that. I'm in. It's too easy, eh? It's just too easy." And it's just been getting bigger and better. Dave won't be there this year, though. He's got to be at the Bassmaster Classic for Vexus Boats, which starts this weekend. So he'll be down there at that, and I'll be there with Dan's watching it for him. And I'll be there all day, most of the days, starting on Friday, and hang out, and talk fishing, do a seminar each day, and away we go from there.
Awesome.
And then it'll be home on Sunday night, and nose to the grindstone on the spring issue of the paper. We've got a little bit behind here with Tammy going to quilting 4 days in a row, so it's getting out of hand.
Wow,
it's getting out of hand.
Wow. Well, we need to have a word with management, but in the meantime, quilt away while you can, Tammy. Quilt away.
She comes home. She came home tonight. She couldn't see straight.
Oh.
She was so tired. She was just lost.
Jeez.
Well, you know the step that goes from the office into the house.
Yeah.
She had a hard time getting up that.
Oof.
She was just beat. I told her, I said, put the bag you're carrying down and hold on the edge of the door and pull yourself up, you know, like. She's she was just exhausted, you know. Like before she left this morning, she was up and down a half a dozen times.
Jeez.
We sit in there for 6-8 hours and eat scones and drink tea. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what she made today. We're gonna have show and tell.
We're yes. Brian's gonna be there. Happy birthday!
This is a really nice little bag she made today.
Oh wow!
Got zippers on it, a gusset. There's the back. She brought it to me because it required split ring appendages being attached. And
she made that today?
Yeah, she made 2. Oh,
Crap.
When it comes to quilting, she's gifted. That's why I always say that. I always tell her she got in the car and she had the two of them, and I said, "So, how much are you going to sell those for?" Oh, well, they're gifts for so and so and so and so. So I told her, I said, "Go to the dollar store, buy a gift like they do to you."
Wow. Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I feel the same way. I can't believe she made two of those. One of those would be, well, anyway.
Yeah, I've never made more than half of one, so.
I certainly.
Is my nose growing? No.
Does she sell? Yes, she does.
Yeah, she does, Eric, and not a lot, but that's why when you come to the house, the way it looks like it should be Quilt City Incorporated. Nobody's ever cold when they come here, even if we didn't pay the heat bill and left the doors open, you'd be sweating to death.
Oh, that's hilarious, Paul. So we got the Belleville show coming up.
Yep.
Of course, following that is the Toronto Sportsman Show. Are you coming down for that one at all, Jim?
I don't think so. I am so far behind. Like I told you, I wanted to deliver Gunther's jigs after Christmas.
Yeah.
You have to make stuff before you can deliver it.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to be busy, is what you're saying.
I'm so far behind, it's crazy. I'm probably farther behind than I've ever been.
Incredible.
And I swore after last year that would never happen again.
Well, to give you, I don't know, maybe to distract you a little bit, I want you to take a look at something that I'm sure others have seen, kind of unique to me in terms of me seeing it for the first time. But where is it here? I know I downloaded it. Where is it? Yes, right here.
Yeah, there's been dozens of things like that over the years.
You've seen this before then, Jim?
Yeah, not exactly like that, but things that had clip-on heads. There's a lot of stuff from Europe right now for pike that has it has a hook, and the hook is attached to the wire, and the wire bends, and all you have to do is squeeze the wire and put a different weight on.
Okay, I've seen that. Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things like that come out of Europe. All kinds of things.
That's interesting. I've never seen.
I've
seen
idea. Yeah,
modifications of it, but to thread it on like it, that's interesting. Never.
I bet you that's expensive.
I can't imagine that it's cheap.
No, thread and stuff.
Yeah,
that's not just pouring it and having it come out perfect out of the mold. I would think.
100%. It
would have to be machined. Yeah, there's so much. You get to see so much cool stuff, eh?
100%. Gary's asking, what other shows will we see you at? Obviously,
hey, Gary, I'm not sure. There's a couple of other smaller things I might end up at. I'll probably be at CanCast. More than likely, even if I don't have something finished up yet, to go and support somebody there, I'll probably go and spend some time in a few buddies' booths, like the Mark LaBelle from Weapons of Mass Destruction and stuff like that. He'll be there, so it'll do that. But I'm hoping that very shortly I'll have something here. So
good. That's what we want to hear. Yes, Alicia, I do remember those Freedom jigs that had something very similar to that. You're right. Yep, good call.
Yeah. There was stuff like there was a guy in Quebec had something screw on actually, and there was another one that had a thing that was kind of like the pike ones, except it was at the front. Instead of it screwing on, the wire was like looped like a spinnerbait inside.
Yes.
When you pulled it down and put it on, then it opened up and went into a groove around the head. There's been a million. Yeah.
Lots of mods.
They even had flipping jigs that the heads changed weight on. So you didn't have to change. You didn't have to untie your jig to change the weight.
I remember that. They used to swivel.
Yeah.
You hook them on.
They didn't stick around. They were gone,
Jeez. Yes, Kirk, you'll be at the Quinny as well as probably CanCast and maybe even the Toronto Sportsman Show. We'll see what happens. But you know what? We had him here tonight. CFN Live. Always a pleasure to have you, Jim. As always, my friend. Look forward to seeing you again next Monday, and looking forward to.
Hopefully I sleep tonight because of what I told you about earlier.
I guarantee you're going to sleep tonight.
The bullshit come to an end just like that.
Wow. needed to happen sooner than later.
Thank you to the legal system at last.
Finally, they came through. No kidding. Buddy, you have yourself a great night. Get some Z's.
Hey, this will mean something to you. I should just record this and send the sound. I'm a bugger when I want to be, you know.
You're good at it, pal. You're good at it. All the best, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Be good, kiddies. Be safe on the ice, hey, folks.
Amen.
I need to heckle you all next week.
Absolutely. We got Lawrence coming up right after a word from our sponsor. Take care, Jim. Almost missed you, Lawrence. We almost missed you, pal.
I know. I don't know what happened.
I don't either, because like I saw your comment and literally right above it was the link. So no, it's all good. Not a big issue. I'm glad. Needless to say, I'm glad to have you. I always get concerned when I don't hear from you or perhaps Jay, because I know you guys get busy and you got stuff going on behind the scenes. I swear, Jimmy and I'll do this regardless. You two might get completely fed up with the two of us at some point, and it'll still be just Jimmy and I. But needless to say, it's great having you, and thanks so much. Did you enjoy this weekend, that weather-wise?
Well, it was what it was. It wasn't going out weather, that's for sure. Like going out ice fishing or anything. But I was reading a little bit about what happened to those guys on Georgian Bay, and that chunk of ice they were on was 7 kilometers wide, and it was 2 feet thick. And the wind was in their favor in the morning, and then the wind shifted, and I guess some waves came in or something, and it just cracked it off and sent it out. But they were floating around out there for about 2.5 hours, and by the time the helicopters came, it had been reduced to a size of about 1 kilometer long, the chunk of ice. So it had started breaking up, and some people were falling through between the chunks, and they were having hypothermia by the time they got pulled off. But they were off there around. I think it happened around noon, and they were off by around 2:30. And I if it was me, I would have went out there. 2 feet of ice.
This is the thing. Again, at the end of the day, it's easy to pass judgment, but yeah. I think it's just because a lot of our viewers are like myself. We're a little older, a little bit more, weary, if you will.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know, to be honest with you, if I would have gone out anywhere this weekend, except for maybe, quite a ways up north, just for the simple fact that you've had that many days with double digits, not to mention the amount of rain and runoff. So you've got current. You've got, moisture, if you will, in rain. And then, of course, the temperatures didn't help either. But again,
around here in Ottawa, we were in the minus numbers all the way up until Friday noon. So it had been in the freezing temperatures, for almost 2 weeks straight, pretty much for a long time. So that Saturday was the first time we popped up above zero in weeks. So. It's tempting, but then you think, it's all going to be all that slush, and it rained. Like, I'm looking at my driveway on Friday, and there's all these ice patches everywhere. And on Saturday, it was pretty much the patches were all gone. I got still huge snowbanks, but the ice was all gone. And I'm looking at that's how fast the ice melts, under the rain, and the warm. It just gone.
And it also, you're 100% right. It also goes to show, what we're dealing with when it comes to air masses. I think one of the most incredible videos shown this past weekend was that tornado. And, for all those who unfortunately are suffering a loss and are, healing from injuries or trying to find loved ones, I can't imagine the ordeal that you're dealing with right now. But in Wisconsin, I believe it was Michigan that it touched down. But the lake was frozen. Like you could see ice still on the lake. And they've got probably an E1, maybe E2 tornado happening right on, the tree line. Like it was just like, that's incredible. You never see that.
No, extreme weather, and I was just reading an article and I can never get this straight. Nina or Ninja or whatever the two, weather extremes in the South Pacific there. And if one warms up, and I think they're anticipating a very extreme cycle this year, starting this summer or in the fall. And it could be one of the strongest ones we've ever felt, which means, a lot of drought in the southwest of North America and some heavy rains more north and a lot of extreme hot temperature. And that could go on for this fall and definitely into 2027. So maybe the next couple winters going to be another crap show, and it's just all over the map, right? The weather more and more, it's just completely unpredictable. And you hear that out of the Arctic all the time amongst the Inuit. I've talked to Inuit elders up there, and people who remember and been on the ice for 60, 70, 80 years, and they don't remember the weather being like that. They don't have any knowledge that applies to that. They never had boats and went out. They had whale boats to go hunt whales during the small season when the ice was out, but to actually go fishing and commercial fishing, that's only in the last 10 years that they're out commercial fishing. That was just something they did through the ice just to feed the dogs, and now they're out there with boats, aluminum boats, going out for 2 days at a time, setting long lines and bringing fish in and processing them and shipping them off to China and making money in ways they've never dreamed of.
It's so true. And hopefully their hunts up north, because our good buddy Douglas always seems to share the hunts up there in Nunavut, and we get an opportunity to see how the small town, small city embraces, this very, it's a ceremony, basically what they do when they sacrifice a whale and it's brought in to help feed the villagers and the community. I think that's pretty cool. I know there's a lot of lovers of whales out there, and I'm one of them, but at the end of the day, this is what they do in order to maintain their life. And it's cool to be along with them, to see how they enjoy their tradition and how they pass it on to some of the younger folks that are there as well. But I have to ask, and thanks, George. So El Nino and La Nina, those are the two weather.
There you go. So which is covering this
with the warm water and how it is carried in the Pacific. So El Nino, if I'm not mistaken, is when warm water is cycled out away from North and South America, and I think La Nina is the exact opposite. Warm water comes in, and I do believe, and it's funny because I had a meteorologist that I follow down the States, Ryan Hall, who explained it in great detail in October and November leading up to wintertime, that he said, La Nina, El Nino is going to be in a pause, and with that pause, you get this steady flow, which is our jet stream that basically goes from west to east. But it does so in a track that will allow for a lot of Gulf moisture to be sucked up in it. We had lots of cold air, and we had lots of snow, which is everything that he had predicted would happen. And needless to say, based on all of his prognosticating, he got it on the button. I mean, it was a sheer bullseye what he predicted and what we're experiencing. So none of this should be a surprise to anybody who follows him. Not that I want to profess that he's the be-all and end-all of meteorologists, but Ryan Hall certainly has a thing or two. So.
Well, they say that's a normal cycle, like every 10 or 11 years, right? And I know, like, just from hunting rabbits as a kid growing up, it's like the rabbit population would get really big, really big, really big, and then we'd have a big, heavy winters, a tough winter, and the population would get knocked right back again, and then it'd start over again, right? And that it was secular, and we're still having those secular types of seasons with the Pacific Ocean altering our weather patterns, but it's just they're getting stronger apparently. Like the effects are being stronger and felt stronger. We're having, but we'll see what happens. It's I mean I don't want to lose winter. I'd be disappointed if winter disappeared, but just being on the lake a lot this winter and you think, wow, now the lake, we should have 2 or 2.5 feet of solid ice, and then you go out there and you got solid ice, but you got a foot of water on top of that, and 4 inches of ice on top of that, and then a bunch of snow, and it just repeats over and over again. So it's never really great.
No, and what, I will say that the beautiful thing about us in winter is we allow it basically extends our fishing season. I know folks are going to look at me funny, but really at the end of the day, when fish go dormant on the lakes, they're still able to go around and fish depending on the seasons and what they're allowed to do down in the States. But even with that extended growing period, there is a period of lull where nothing hits, nothing happens, and we're lucky to continue fishing as we have the luxury of seeing Steve and Walter and myself, the edits that we post on CFN. We have a lot of great fishing that still exists, whether it's frozen or soft water up here, and we're lucky for that. And to your point, would you like it, Lawrence, if we were to get like the snow anomalies that you see in Texas? Like you get at least one snowfall every, you know what I'm saying? Like in Florida.
No, but I remember going up snowmobiling up in the Muskokas you didn't have to go far, go up past Orangeville, up to Flesherton towards Collingwood or up to the Muskokas. And by Christmas, everyone was snowmobiling. The trails were groomed. Winter was on, right? People were going across the lakes and everything was on. And that lasted. And it was pretty predictable until March, when things started melting and freezing a bit. Then it got a bit unpredictable again. But that's my memory. And you don't seem to have that so much anymore. You got to go further north, or you got to go east, or when I say north, I mean north, like Abitibi or east of New Brunswick. And then even in New Brunswick around Christmas time, they had no snow. And then they got so much snow you could hardly move your snowmobile around. It was like, it's just it's been like that again, right? So
it's true. Yeah. A buddy of mine, Herbie, lives out in Newfoundland, and to your point, they hadn't got a lot of snow, and then all of a sudden they got a dump of the snow, and now they've got more snow than they care to talk about. But it's been an interesting winter, one that we can say is very typical and traditional here in Ontario. Anyway, I'm sure out west it's no different, and out east they usually typically get a little bit more snow than they do, but it's spread out, not like it came this year. But again, regardless of that, it's now March. Can you believe that, Lawrence? Freaking March.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are on the cusp of what becomes a very busy show season. I know you got the spring show. We had the Ottawa show that we just came back from, but you've got the Toronto Sportsman show, you've got the Quinny show, and you've got CanCast, the 3 big ones that are coming up. And the thing I like about it, not only are it's the shows and it's show season, but of course it's the prelude to softwater season, and I'm sure everybody here is looking forward to that.
Yeah, when you're when the snow is melting and you can walk out with just your a spring jacket and you're thinking fishing, and and that CanCast that show is going to be it's a doubled up with the Muskie Odyssey this year. So you buy one ticket for one and you get into both shows. It's not the same venue, but they're both in Peterborough. That's both happening on March 29th. Buy a ticket for one and you get into both. Muskie Odyssey, that's a freak show of amazing, muskie people doing crazy things with wood and plastic and metal, and just beautiful, almost art. Some of it's art, some of it's crap. You got to know what's what, and you see it by noon. The crap's still sitting on the table, and the art's that was gone by 30 minutes after the doors opened, because people know exactly what they're after at the Odyssey, I'll tell you. But they got great speakers there, and the CanCast with their 200 exhibitors, all fishing. That's to have those side by side. Oh my God, it's like God. stop my heart, man. I gotta slow down.
It is so true. And for anyone who is wondering, what do I get for the price of admission to CanCast? Are you kidding? Like, you're getting a full show plus the tackle swap and all of the other vendors that are in the McGrow building, I believe is next door. And then, of course, you've got the arena just down the way where Muskie's Odyssey. So that ticket that you're buying, and I can't remember what the cost of a ticket is. Like, look at what you're getting. Look at what you're walking in front of. Your eyes are going to see. You're going to be a part of, geographically, probably one of the biggest shows in Canada. If not,
it's the biggest fishing show in Canada.
There you go.
Canada, that Sunday, and it's just one day. Like, why one day? Why wouldn't you do it over two? Like, oh my God, people are gonna be running. But like I said, the Odyssey, the good stuff gets picked over pretty quick, and by 2:00, you could throw a bowling ball down the aisles and not hit anybody, and maybe the people tearing down their booths early, but it's over in a flash. It's there's people around, there's tables set up, and there's lure stuff, but the real hunters, the real musky people, they've come and gone. They've all spent like $700-800 on average per person at that Muskie Odyssey.
So true. It's so true. And I will say, based on everything that I'm seeing, everything that I'm hearing, this is going to be a very well attended show. So make sure you get there early. We're going to have Kyle on with Kayak Bass Canada. Aaron Dodds is going to be joining us on the 25th. We're going to be talking a lot about CanCast at that point. And I know Kyle will be at that threshold where he can't wait to just collapse and look forward to when it's over. And not from a selfish perspective. It's just, I know the amount of work that goes into this. Brad and I, who have done the Made in Canada shows, certainly not on the same level as CanCast, but we understand the stresses and anxiety that goes into putting those shows on. So I can't imagine what a team Kyle has, and what a group, and what an event it's going to be. So looking forward to that, and rubbing shoulders with all of our anglers in our community. Lawrence, I know you've been busy. I know there's lots
I got a couple questions for everybody.
I'll let you go ahead.
So the first one, if you looked at the Bluefish News that came out on March 6th, there was an article there that had to do with, keeping your catch alive on the ice. And they're talking about building little live wells on the ice out of the slush. After you drill your hole, you could just take the all that slurry, all that slush, and just form a little dam, a nice dam, and then with a bucket, just fill it. It freezes quick enough, and then you can fill it up with water. And you've got yourself a little, a very short-term live well. That's what they're claiming. And that's what this is an article in Outdoor Canada magazine. And, I think maybe there's not going to be a whole lot of oxygen in there, but, it's cold water. So the fish's metabolism's fairly slow, maybe. And, but the main thing is, and I've had this conversation with Dr. Stephen Cook, is not letting the gills freeze, right? So if you want to have that fish out of the water just so you can measure it and take a picture of it so you can enter it into some sort of tournament, one of these online ice fishing tournaments, and you need to get these measurements, having that sort of on ice live well that you form yourself, it'll keep those gills underwater and it'll keep them from freezing. Because according to Dr. Stephen Cook, the gills can freeze very quickly. And if they freeze, all the little blood vessels sort of explode, and that's a death sentence for these fish. You think they're going back alive, but that's not the case.
No, you're right. And catch and release fishing, when we talk about hard water fishing, is something that we hope is practiced. Even if it is practiced, we can't have any guarantee of these fish being released and being of any value after they are. Again, I'm not trying to paint a horrible picture when it comes to catch and release, but in these kind of situations, and Lawrence, you touched on it, we have to be wary. When we get outside of our hut, we get it outside of our enclosure, we get in that cold wind, we lay our fish down on the ice in the snow. It is just increasing the effects of cold and what it's doing to the eyes, what it's doing to the skin. but more importantly, the gills. And I had no idea how fast gills can freeze. It's
within seconds, with less than a minute. And I asked Dr. Cook about the eyes too, because I know, I've met a lot of people over the years that have gone blind because they've passed out in snowbanks from excess alcohol. And the first thing that freezes when you pass out is your eyes. You think it was your nose, your cheeks, or your fingertips, your toes. Yeah, they'll all freeze eventually, but the eyes freeze first, and they don't come back. And
I don't want to sound disrespectful by any means, but really, you've met a few people that.
People. Yeah, really? Over the years, just working with different groups, and then that's a group that's for sure. Yeah. It's sad, it's tragic, but it happens a lot, especially in rural and more remote parts of Canada.
I wouldn't even think of it happening. I mean, obviously, people get frostbite. That's something that you think of all the time when you think of cold and winter and ice and snow. But the fact that you've met that many people that have, wow, that's shocking.
Yeah.
That's
awful. And so I asked Dr. Cook, I didn't tell him all that part, but I said, what about the eyes? And he said, well, he thought about it. He said, you know what? He said, think about, like, fish don't have eyelids to protect their eyes. So when they're swimming around in weed beds and around stick bundles and things like that, they're bumping into stuff all their time with their eyeballs. So his assumption was the eyes are pretty tough, and I think what I'm talking about is, when you pass out, your heart rate starts to slow, right? And the blood isn't being pumped to the extremities as much. I mean, number one source of heart blood is supposed to go to the head. So you think it would keep the eyes, but the eyeballs, there's not much insulation in front of the eyeballs, right? It's just, lenses. So for sure the cold can penetrate through there and right down onto the end of those, your retina, which is the ends of your nerves, your cones and rods that pick up the light signal. So it's all pretty exposed, right? So, yeah, it's but I guess he was thinking more damage, and I was thinking more freezing the eyes, and I'm wondering, if it's minus 20, minus 25, minus 30, are those fish eyes going to freeze? Are they going to freeze? They can't close their eyes.
And I'll be honest, and this is a very long-winded explanation made very short. It's one of the reasons that we love to run the Winter Fish Fest. But this is one of the reasons why we don't. One, because I'm always concerned about ice. I mean, let's face it. In the last little while, this has been an anomaly year, which has been very traditional and what we should expect from a winter. But we haven't had anything like that leading up to this year. So running a Winter Fish Fest, we have to take into consideration the ice and making sure that it is somewhat usable. I don't want to use the word safe because everybody gets upset with that, but we need to have workable ice. But with that, usually when it's workable, it's like February and most fish are like dormant. And I know folks, the last week, maybe not this weekend, but the last weekend they were having a hard time. It was a tough go trying to catch fish because the water temperature has dropped to a point where they're now basically sleeping. They're dormant. And then the other reason, of course, is fish handling. When you get fish out in open with the wind and the cold and whatever, I'm just worried we're doing more harm than good. As much as we need to promote fishing, there's a time and a place.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're ice fishing, you should be thinking about just taking a few for your meal, and that's pretty good, and making sure the other ones go back right away. But that's an ethical argument, and here's another ethical argument about ice fishing and all fishing in general. But you see a lot of this with ice fishing because you see way more harvesting going on with ice fishing, right? And it's this Ike-jime, and it's pronounced IKE space JIME. And it's a Japanese tradition of how to euthanize your fish respectively and for the best quality meat. So there's two things, and this is a tradition that dates back over 300 years, this process. It's a 4-step process, and I'll tell you about the process in a second. But it's designed to make sure the fish don't suffer, the fish don't panic and release cortisone into the system, which causes that rigidity in the muscle tissue, and a distaste, and that you also get the blood out of the flesh of the fish, so that the flesh tastes cleaner. It doesn't taste so, salty and fishy.
Yep.
And so there's a number of things going on here. One is that respect the animal, right? And we know as hunters, no one wants to have the animal suffer. Yeah, you think you hit a deer, it runs off, you got to chase it down right away, or a bear, chase it down right away and put it out of its misery. But in fact, you're just pumping it full of adrenaline and keeping it scared, and it's just going to keep running. What you want it to do is just lie down and go to sleep and die, and without struggling, without feeling the panic. And so they say, always let the deer, let the bear go for half an hour and before you start the tracking. But with fish, the best thing to do is to, not just to leave it on the ice, not just to leave it, in a cooler. It's not respectful. And I think what we're showing kids by just doing that, just, tossing them on the ice outside the hut or the whatever next to your hole as little trophies, and just letting them flop around until they eventually die, suffocate, or freeze to death with their gills, and so on and so forth. It's there's a more respectful way to do it. And I think we need to, as anglers, we need to practice more respectful euthanization of our catches.
It's an interesting idea and an interesting concept that you bring up, and I have to agree. This is just a personal thing for me. But when I see a bunch of fish laid out, frozen solid outside of a hut, it makes me wonder. Like, okay, so how are you filleting that?
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to have to thaw that meat out. If you have made sure that the blood is gone and you've taken it out and this and that, then I guess you're okay. But it still has the guts inside, which is not something that's good. I know if it's frozen, it's somewhat sealed and preserved to a certain extent. But you got to rethaw those fish in order to fillet them, because the last thing you want to do is throw a whole fish in the freezer. Am I wrong? Because that's just not something I do. But
yeah, people do it all the time. People do it all the time, right? When they're ice fishing, they let the fish freeze. But even that's a pure quality issue, in terms of what's that fish going to taste like when you take it out of the freezer,
exactly.
Start to thaw it out, and then try to get the guts out of it, and never mind the blood. That's never going to come out, right? That's in there for sure now.
Yep.
So and then. Are these fish, are they frozen? Are they arced? So, they've got rigor mortis and the cortisone was released, and which really degrades the quality of the fish. So if you want to have a good tasting fish, and I was with a group and watching them do that, and I'm thinking, hey, you should bleed those fish, and it's people have traditions, that's the way they always did it, and it's just fine the way it is. But it's I think we need to start to think more about this and think about the fish, and thinking about, okay, we're going to take this fish's life, let's make sure we do it humanely, and then let's make sure when we get the best meal we can out of that fish, because the fish has given up its life for us to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So why not, who wants to eat crappy meat, right? Who wants to eat meat that's just not going to taste good because we didn't handle it properly? You don't go buy meat like that at the grocery store and bring it home and eat it, and it tastes like crap, and you're happy with that. No, you want your money back. You're disappointed, and we should be disappointed when our fish don't taste great because we didn't do it properly when we could do it properly. And it's not that hard to do. And it's 4 simple steps. The 4th step is kind of a bit weird, but they've got their techniques, and I guess depends on the size of the fish. But if you want, I'll walk you through the 4 steps quick.
Sure.
Oh, there it is. Okay, here we go. So the first thing you should do as soon as you catch your fish, if you're going to keep it, is you take the tip of your fillet knife or sharp knife, and right between the eyes, through the top of the head, drive your knife point down and scramble the braids, poke the brain, give it a good shot right through the brain to kill the fish instantly. You know, you're killing the fish, you're not stopping the heart, right? You know, it's like a chicken. You cut the head off a chicken and the heart's still pumping.
Right.
But with a fish, it's the same thing. You know, the heart's still pumping. You just want to stop the suffering, you don't want the fish to be panicked. It's starting to suffocate. It's starting to gasp. It's starting to flop around, trying to find water. You want to definitely still the brain pattern. You don't want the brain to stop functioning. And then that's the very first step. That's the most humane thing you can do is so the fish is not conscious. So the fish is, you know, the brain stops functioning and it's not feeling all that stress and panic of that horrible death.
It's a great concept that you're bringing up. I truly like this bit of advice. And if anybody wants a great explanation or a great video to watch, the folks down in Australia do this on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah?
There is a lot of great videos that they share on. I mean, obviously, they don't have our species of fish necessarily up here, but they show different techniques on the angle, where to enter, where to exit. But the folks down in Aussie land, they've got quite a few videos that depict this in great detail. So that's
I saw a video put out by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for recreational anglers, and it was, to have to admit, it was a little bit rudimentary. I don't think they were talking more about less about treating the fish ethically and more about just making sure the meat is in as best condition as possible. But I thought they skipped that first essential step of calming the brain. And this is what they do in butcher houses, right? They have those air guns. They shoot at the animal right between the eyes. Boom, cancel the brain as soon as it walks into the chute. That's the very first thing that's done with large animals in butcher houses. They shoot the scramble the brain, hang the animal, and then bleed it out. So step 2. So as soon as you shut the brain down, cut the gills. And they say the best thing too is to put it into a sort of a bucket of 2/3 ice and 1/3 water. So you cool it down right away, and you allow, and the blood will flow into that bucket. So head down, and then the blood will flow into the bucket and drain out completely, instead of just laying it on the snow where it's going to freeze and maybe not come out, because it freezes as soon as it comes out, and then it stops. You know, it almost like a wound, cauterizing. You know, and then so put it into a bucket and let it bleed out into that bucket of sort of slushy water. That's the second step. Then you get all the blood out of the meat. So you've done 2 things, right? You've done you've humanely dispatched the fish, and then now you've got the blood out of the flesh, so it's going to taste better, and it's not going to have all that cortisone and get all stiff on you. And then the third step, so they say destroy the spinal cord, and that's the third step. So you cut the spinal cord. Or what they're doing is, so they say they take a thin, strong wire and they push it along. They shove it down the spinal cord to make sure that the nerve in the spinal cord doesn't keep sending signals to the muscles, because you know it's not just the signal coming from the brain that goes to the muscle. That's why it's also in the spinal cord itself. It has some sort of capacity to send signals to the muscles to sort of function, you know, flap around. And by pushing a wire down the spinal cord, you still that energy right away. So then the flesh is more tender. It's not all rigid. It's not, you know, like a boxer with the muscles all tensed up, right, ready to fight. It's more relaxed, as if you were just got off the massage bed kind of thing. That's what you want, right?
Absolutely. And as I said, again, to bring it back to the folks down in Aussie land, again, this is where I was introduced to all of this. Had no idea. I mean, my father back in the day used to, you know, do things to the neck to snap it, and it again taught me that you know we're being respectful to the resource by doing that, not allowing them to suffer. But it was interesting, and I forget the species of fish that they have out there, but it's a kind of snapper where it's an incredible color. It's a kaleidoscope of colors.
Wow.
And then the minute you put this wire down its spinal, the colors change. And you can tell that the fish, it looks like an angry color at first, and then when you put this wire down its spinal cord, it goes back to the aquarium colors, and it's just a gorgeous fish. But great point. These are 3 great advice, 3 great steps.
Yeah, and then the 4th step is to put the fish into the buckets to bleed out, right? That would be the 4th step. But I'm thinking for smaller crappie and things like that, or smaller walleye. I don't know if you want to do the whole wire thing. I think if you're dealing with a fish, some of these saltwater fish that are in the many pounds, you want to do everything you can to make sure that all that meat is going to be the best tasting it can possibly be. And where if you're dealing with getting a few fillets off some crappie or maybe some walleye, maybe just bleeding it and killing it humanely and bleeding it out into a bucket of water is the best thing you can do if you don't have a wire. And that should do a pretty good job, I think, and in my experience for sure. And you know what? I've taught kids this, right, on docks, fishing off docks, and they're fine with this. They're fine. They're fine with euthanizing and bleeding out fish, and you explain it to them why you're doing this. They think, oh, yeah, that makes sense. The kids think it just makes sense. They're fine with it. And if you think about it,
doesn't it make sense? Like it's pretty straightforward. Like I mean, I hate to say that these fish weren't just put on the planet to entertain us. I think they were initially brought here for the simple fact that someone upstairs knew that. Well, we got to feed these people, and what better way than with fish?
I agree, Scotty. You're absolutely right. When you have fish that lay thousands and thousands of eggs, and those eggs, many of them hatch, and it's food for the fish. The fry that come out of those eggs feeds the fish, and if they grow up, if they get past the stage where they're getting eaten by other fish, then we get to eat them. So it's 100%. It's food. This is a prey that. For many of us, it was put on the earth in that numbers because they're used to being predated on, and it's fine. Go for it.
As we have all learned through many of your segments, Lauren, we are just as much a part of the food web as the fish themselves. So
yeah, I agree, buddy. I agree. That's why I'm thinking I'm gonna have my body composted when I pass away, and I'm just gonna be just compost and have my flesh go back into the ground and feed some plants with it. I think that would be a good way to give back. But I've looked into it a little bit. It's a little expensive composting, and it takes a few months, and it's a little creepy. I have to admit, it's a little creepy, buddy.
Yeah, just a tad. Lawrence, as always, your segment flies by. I know you had one more thing that you wanted to mention.
That's it. That's good.
Okay, well, that's great. Next week we will entertain more, and of course the folks out west, they have reached out to me at least once since we last talked, or last spoke, I should say, and we should probably spend a little bit of time on getting updated on where they're at with their plight with their journey out there.
I was just speaking with the head of the British Columbia Recreational Fishing Association. And that's an association of recreational clubs, and they've got many clubs that are part of this association. And there's no good news yet. And March 19th is the date that the minister is expected to make the decision about closures and reallocations of quotas and things like that. So, next Monday will be, oh my goodness, it's going to be the 18th. So it'll be Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we'll get them, get to hear what the minister has to say. So let's go over what those options are next Monday.
100%. Let's do it. All right, Lawrence, till then, you have yourself a great week and a great weekend, and we will catch back.
Thanks, buddy.
Next Monday. But you take care. I promise I'll link a little early.
Oh, I don't know. Like I saw a message, but I keep. We looked, and we saw, and then we saw. Anyways, we went on to the wrong link from last week, and then I said, no, that's not it. That's March 2nd. Anyways, that's all good. Appreciate it.
No worries. Just glad you made it.
Yeah.
You take care, my friend. All the best. Take care of yourself. All right. We got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural. Man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, Power Bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
J-Dog's in the house. Look at
What's
you,
up, buddy?
man. All showered up. I can smell you from here.
I did. Had to get that gym smell off me from all the teenage boys in there. They should give out deodorant at the door. Good Lord.
I hear you. Something that I wanted to share with you that I'd like for you to expand on. Now that Mastiff is no longer a thing, that Shimano product that came out with the fluorocarbon last couple of years, they're not making it anymore. But there's a new product that's been released by Berkeley, and it's a fluorocarbon. I'm hoping that you can help us sort of explain why this fluorocarbon is something that we should really look into, because they do talk about trilene, but also this new product, and comes in a variety of sizes, diameters, weight classes, you name it. We'll watch the video and then we'll have you expand on it.
Just launched from Berkeley, a brand new fluorocarbon. This is Gin Clear. This is a high-end fluorocarbon, guys, but extremely affordable. You're going to love the price on it. It's available everywhere from 4 pound or anywhere from 4 pound to 25 pound test. And this is a level wound fluorocarbon. So incredibly smooth, very, very low memory, and just a great casting distance line while still maintaining a ton of strength. So I've been using this for the past 6 to 8 months now and completely fallen in love with it. This is my new go-to line. I still will use 100% trilene, but this stuff is definitely made its way in my boat and it's going to stay.
All right, I'm intrigued. I mean, you had me at fluorocarbon.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. What Berkeley did was, so Berkeley was one of the first companies to come out with Vanish. Was their first fluorocarbon, and you know, it had mixed reviews. It was pretty stiff, wasn't very castable, but you know what? It was a modestly priced fluorocarbon, so a lot of anglers could buy it because fluorocarbon is not cheap. If anyone buys fluorocarbon now, it's still pretty expensive. And then Berkeley came out with 100% fluorocarbon, which is still on a price point. It's still their higher end fluorocarbon. But one thing that and I haven't used Gin Clear a whole lot. I've actually seen some test packages of it, some of the smaller pound test sizes I've seen. And it's funny because at the time I didn't think it was Gin Clear, because when I get samples to test sometimes, they don't tell you what it is. They just say, here's a no-name spool of line. Try it, give us feedback. And that's how a lot of the things are tested. Now, and this was going back probably 3 years ago. And this is just kind of gives people an insight into how long it takes for these things to hit the market. So this is Justin Lucas, one of the MLF pros from Berkeley. So like the pros have been using this for a full season. They've already been using it for an entire year or close to that. And so what Berkeley wanted to do was they wanted to take a fluorocarbon so the 100% fluorocarbon, which a lot of folks are familiar with, the trilene, it's actually a thicker diameter than Gin Clear. So it's more abrasion resistant. It sinks a little bit better because it's denser. But this is a little bit cheaper, and this is a little more limper. So it depends on your application. And I think that, you know, will you run this on straight fluoro? You probably could. It actually comes in 4 pound and 6 pound and 8 pound. So I've always found that with fluorocarbon, Scotty, if you ever try casting it, you don't want to go with like 10 or 12 or 14 pound on a spinning reel. On a bait caster, fluorocarbon works really well, but it's hard to use anything less than 10 pound test on a bait caster. So I think what Gin Clear does is it fills this void in this middle price point people can afford. And it's the 4, 6, and 8 pound test of it will probably be good for running like straight fluoro on a spinning rod. Gotcha. Or you can use it as a leader. And it's just going to be a lot more castable, and it's a lot limper. It's just going to be a good product. I'm looking for it. I'm hoping they have it at the Sportsman Show, because I think it's going to be a popular item for a lot of folks looking for a good, reasonably priced fluorocarbon. I really do.
And I think that's the key right there, reasonably priced, because anybody who loves their fluorocarbon and loves their certain brands can appreciate, like I do, how they've gone up in price. I want to say fluorocarbon, depending on what brand that you typically buy, has almost doubled in price in the last 10 years. And so with that being said, something that they're introducing that's, and I want to say maybe not necessarily new technology, because fluorocarbon's been around for a while, but this is a new take on fluorocarbon to a certain degree. And the fact that it's coming in at a lower price point.
And that's one thing I enjoy about Berkeley, and George might think differently, but I think that when it comes to Berkeley products, like, they're just really good at finding that niche point where folks can afford it and still give you a decent product that performs well. And I think that that's what folks will like with Gin Clear. So I don't know what the price will be per spool, like Canadian, once they sort out how it gets here and all that kind of stuff. But from what I've been told in the US, it's kind of right in between Vanish and 100%. So it's going to be a pretty economical fluorocarbon for a lot of folks to try.
That's wild. I have to ask, Jay, would the tariffs, would they somehow affect the price of this?
You know what? I don't know. I haven't read enough about it. I'm going to bet that Mark Penner, who's listening in, he might have a comment on that. He might put in the chat about how tariffs are impacting, what we have coming over. At first, there was probably product available when all this trade war started. We had product in North America, but as new stuff's coming over, the price will go up. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to guess that prices will go up, but I'm not sure by how much. I hope it doesn't go up like the price of gas did this week, but it is what it is. Still,
and I will say we're not going to talk about it because there's just so much of it going on that I'm sort of done talking. And I know that sounds horrible, because there's people that are losing their lives, they're losing their homes. At the end of the day, it's just it's so troubling. Like at the end, I don't want to talk about it. So with that being said,
I just see Mark Wolf's comment here about all I ever use fluoro is a leader braid on spinning, which is like, Mark, using your braid on your rods, it's a very economical and reasonable choice. Like, I probably have braid on probably 80% of my rods.
Yeah.
And the braid lasts literally for years unless I get a big wind knot or something. And so I use it a lot for leader material. But there's some applications, like when I'm throwing like crankbaits or jerk baits. Like, for example, I've really gotten into throwing jerk baits on a bait caster and then using it with fluoro. And because fluoro's got a little bit of stretch, helps that jerk bait sink down. And the reason why I switched to a bait caster, and it's a medium action bait caster for folks that don't know, why I like that is when I'm fighting big smallmouth on Lake Erie, I have a lot more leverage on a 7-foot bait caster than I would on a 7-foot spinning rod.
Makes sense.
Like, hands down. So, but with braid on that bait caster, the action's too fast. So I use fluoro to kind of compensate for that. And it casts great. Like, so, and I use a lot of fluorocarbon on like flipping and pitching outfits. And actually even on if I'm throwing a bladed jig, like a slobber knocker or a chatterbait, I will throw fluoro on there because it goes through cover really well and it has a little bit of stretch, a little bit of forgiveness. And I'll throw that on a moderate action rod. So like fluorocarbon on a bait caster works really well for certain applications. But yeah, Mark, you're not wrong. Braid lasts a lot. Braid is expensive. I don't care what brand you buy, but it lasts you a long time if you take care of it. So
sure does. Sonia, you and I think exactly alike. And I remember when I first got introduced to fluorocarbon, I was stunned at how many different weight classes there were. 8 pounds, 6 pound, 20 pound. Yeah. If it's clear and disappears underwater, what difference does it make what size or weight class you use? I'll let you explain because there is a reason.
Yeah, so it's all about action of your bait and what size of bait that you're going to use. So if you use, like, let's say I'm going crappie fishing. Okay, I'm going to go out spring pan fishing, and I'm going to throw like a 1/64 ounce or even a 1/16 ounce jig. And I'm going to tie it to a fluoro leader to braid line. And like I like to use Fireline, like 4-pound test Fireline, and I'll use 4-pound fluorocarbon. Why do I do that? Because I get the action out of that bait. If I ran a 10-pound leader of fluorocarbon to 4-pound Fireline, that leader is very stiff, and I'm not going to get the action out of that bait. So I'm going to dial it down just a little bit to kind of match my presentation a little bit better. And fluorocarbon is really strong. Like, people don't realize, like, I run, so when I'm smallmouth fishing on Erie, I run 8-pound braid, which is this stuff right here. Where is it? Right here. So, like, that's all I run. 8-pound X5 crystal. Like, we go through a lot of this on our spinning rods. I'll only go up to like 15 or 20-pound braid for maybe one rod if I'm fishing around like docks with a spinning rod, which isn't very often. But almost all my spinning rods, 8-pound, and I'm running 6-pound leader on most of those outfits. Now, if I'm running Berkeley, it's a little bit thicker than other brands out there. So 6-pound Berkeley is like 8-pound other brands. If you have to look at that line diameter, so important. And so 6 is plenty strong. I can't tell you the last time I've broken off on like a drop shot on 6-pound fluorocarbon. I can't tell you. It won't happen unless you tie a bad knot. It will not happen. It's especially if you're using an FG knot. It is so incredibly strong to use limp fluorocarbon. It casts better. The bait gives you a better presentation. So Sonia, just scale the diameter, and you don't have to use 4, 6, and 8. Like, I like to use 4-pound fluorocarbon for like my panfish applications, and maybe I'm fishing for small stream trout. Like, that's my favorite leader. And then for smallmouth, it's like 6 or 8 leader, for walleye as well. And then when I start getting up into 10 or 12, I don't use a lot of 10 or 12-pound fluorocarbon. If I'm going to get up into my bait casting range, I'm running 14, 17, and 20, and I'm running it straight through. So
interesting. I know my dad always used to talk about line, and this is before fluorocarbon was even a thing. But he said, it's like a telephone line. And I said, okay, when the larger or the thicker the line, the more conversations you can have and the clearer the conversation is. Never really understood that. But he said, unfortunately, it comes at a cost. And that cost is it takes up an awful lot of room underground. If you were to switch it and think of it in the water, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing my best to try and follow along, Dad. The vibration that thicker line creates underwater, unfortunately, in some cases, will spook fish.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I understand how you got to that, but we back up a second about the line and people talking or whatever, because that didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, Dad would always say the larger and the thicker the line underwater, the more vibration it makes. So when you can get away with it, use a thinner diameter line in every situation you can.
Yeah, I think that's just a good rule to follow, man. I really think so.
100%. So, Mark, thanks so much for bringing us to light in regards to tariffs and why prices, in some cases, continue to go up. I know that we're starting to see boat prices, and I should say this very cautiously, are starting to claw back a little bit. We are starting to see a little bit of a decrease in boat prices, which is good to see. But I'm like you, Mark and Jay. I just strictly use as a leader. It's not something that I'm not typically one to use a bait caster. But you mentioned crappie. I showed this to Big Jim just to whet your appetite a little bit, Jay. Just a little tease here, just a little tease. My Lord, dude. What do you figure the weight of something like that is?
Like that's probably around 15, 16-inch crappie. So that's probably that's got to be around over 2 pounds. I don't know if it'll hit 3, but it's in that. It's over 2 plus for sure. Yeah. That is a giant.
You ever caught one this big, Jay?
No. No, I've never got one that big. I don't think that is an absolute giant of a
That
fish.
is a beast.
So,
Absolutely. All
Mark,
right.
your comment about leaders, I'll just be honest with you. I used to dabble in a lot of steelheading, and I still do, but a lot of steelheading leader, like trout fly fishing leader, like you'll see that marketed, and it's very limp. It's very high quality fluorocarbon. But for a lot of the, I think as I've gotten older, I just use whatever fluorocarbon I got, and so I like to use a lot of, basically, unfortunately, a lot of fluorocarbon doesn't come in small spools anymore,
No,
right?
exactly.
So, I used to like it when they would make pony spools of like 50 or 100 yard fluorocarbon, and they don't do that anymore. So what I do, Mark, is I keep a lot of the small fluorocarbon spools that I have over the years, and I take my big spool, my big filler spool, and I wrap, because I'm just using it for leader. You get some kinks in it, but it's not bad, and that way I can keep that small filler spool filled and keep it in my vest or in my jacket when I'm out trout fishing. That's what I use it for mainly. When I'm out like bass fishing, because I pretty much just use 6 pound. I just keep the whole spool in my box, and I keep a elastic band around it, and that's it. I'll just use that spool for the whole season. It'll last me for 2 seasons. So
That makes sense. That's an
Yeah.
efficient way to do it. 100%. I'm definitely on board with that. Something that you shared with us on the weekend, and Jim and I talked about it a little bit. Of course, everything that is going on right now. This is basically whatever every mouth of a river looks like, especially along the Great Lakes. The ice jams are starting to break up, or perhaps they are becoming concentrated like they are in this case. And I hope they're not holding back water anywhere close to where you live. But that is unfortunately what we have to deal with every year. And for those who are still ice fishing, I'm going to assume that wherever you are going this weekend, if you can find ice that is workable that you can use, I have a feeling you're going to be dealing with that while you're out there.
that's
Jay,
wild, man.
it isn't that wild, but I
Now,
do
this
have.
is AI doing some good. This is all this is to me. Like, these stories, man. So I said the pre-show. There's a buddy that I work with, Dave, and he's from Hamilton. Very knowledgeable angler. I love talking fishing with Dave at work. And we actually haven't fished together. Like, we just walk in different circles, but we talk fishing, and I love his thoughts on things. And last week he was up in Owen Sound for a couple of days. He has a buddy who lives right in Owen Sound. You can park in his driveway and walk out in the bay, and they got some salmon and some nice Lakers. But I want to say this was last Tuesday, Wednesday. And so as soon as I saw Dave today and I knew what had happened on the weekend, I'm like, hey, buddy, don't tell me you were up and getting helicopter rides on the weekend, were you? He's like, no. And he tried to get folks like to not go. And we know a few folks that, like, we know, no, I don't know them. They're not my friends, but acquaintances. And they went, and it's not even, Jim touched on this. It's a combination of things. Like, you had warm temperatures, you have rain, but the killer up there is that wind. That wind will just, once the ice lets go at the shore, and Jim touched on this, the ice lets go at the shore first because that's where the heat comes first. So in the springtime, when that shoreline warms up, especially up there in Owen Sound area, you have two things. You got a lot of rock, a lot of sand that holds heat, and you got a lot of the creeks flowing in. And so anyway, that's just a recipe for ice breakup, right? And even today at work, dude, I was in the office, and if I look out my window, I can see the west end of Hamilton Harbor. And I was watching the ice like leaving all day. Like, as the wind blew and it's warm and sunny, I'm watching ice out happen from my office. Like, it was actually pretty neat to watch it happen all day. There's still ice out there, but you can see it disappearing right in front of my eyes as that wind just churned it up. It's amazing, man. So I'm glad they're safe, but that's just some poor choices from, and I don't even want, a lot of the anglers that were up there, they knew what they were doing. They didn't think the ice would break up, but they knew. Like these are knowledgeable ice anglers. So, and anyways, moving on. I'm glad they're safe. Just lesson learned. And it's, this is not as big as there's weights in fish, but it's up there. It's up there.
It is, and I think that was the initial reaction that a good number of us had. Of course, when you look at the severity of what was going on, and you learn that some folks fell through cracks and were dealing with hypothermia, I'm sure there was a few on that ice floe that weren't sure they were going to live. So again,
yeah, like you got to put yourself in that situation, right? Like, never mind. Okay. Would you let yourself be in that situation? Maybe not, probably not. But if you were, like, this is, we joke on the show about the old cliche, no ice is safe ice. And this stuff can happen. Things can happen in a heartbeat. And I know, I heard a couple guys talking online about they're glad they had their FXR suits and stuff. Listen, those suits will help you, but they ain't going to save you. Like they're just going to allow you to survive a little bit longer, and hopefully someone gets to you in time. That's the truth. Like even in a full survival suit, a Mustang survival suit, it will extend your life, but we're not talking hours. We're talking minutes, like 60, 90 minutes. Like depends on so many other things that play, but you better have help coming for you because you don't have much time.
So I guess to sum it all up, because we could sit here and advise and lecture and browbeat and judge, whatever you want to call it. But let's just leave it at this. If this seems ridiculous to you, then it is. And it means don't go out on the ice. Like as ridiculous as this may seem, if it is, then don't go out on the ice. Simple as that. Because at the end of the day,
what's frustrating, Scotty, is when you get when fishing hits the news, hits the mainstream. Yeah. All I get is messages from all my friends who are not anglers, and they're all WTF, like all day. Yeah. Have you seen the story? And I'm like, yep, I have seen it. Like, and I have to, and some of these people are like, like my mom hasn't questioned me yet, but I'm waiting for my mom, and I have to explain to my mom that I'm careful and I probably wouldn't put myself in that situation. Like these are kind of conversations that I'm having to have because people make bad choices. So, anyways,
it's true. And Sonia, you bring up, and this is again why we sort of temper our opinions here is because. This is very true. Whether folks want to admit this or not, but there were people out on that ice that were saying goodbye to their families because they honestly did not think they were going to make it. So again, we can make light of it. We can joke about it. We can browbeat, lecture, judge, whatever you want to call it. Try not to do that here because this is really what was going on with some. And I can't imagine having that fear of thinking you're going to die. That's awful.
Like looking at some of those pictures and the ice that they're walking on, I was scared watching the pictures. Like I never once laughed at it. Like I can laugh at that AI image, but the videos that was shared, and like we can say, why did someone made a comment about running with their phones out there, but anyways, I think it's just telling the story of how bad it got. Like there's some lessons here. There are some positives we can take from this, but it does make.
And that's all we're trying to do, really, Jade. Right? At the end of the day, that's all we're doing. This isn't about taking this and dissecting it, going detail to detail. Well, if they had stood on this side of the ice jam, they would have been all right. If they had worn, this color FRX suit, it would have been a lot different. Maybe if they didn't have like the 16 augers on the ones, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, yes, unfortunately, there are some lessons that are easily taught. Some are, unfortunately, you have to live through. And I'm just glad everybody in this case did. so that we don't have to go through it again, and hopefully we don't. Now, I
Yeah.
noticed that you have a link here that you shared.
Yeah, this is today.
Wow.
So this is Cockshut Bridge, which is the Grand River just south of Brantford. So if you're coming from like sort of Simcoe or Port Dover way, this is sort of the south end of Brantford. And this is kind of a neat picture because that tree, there's a tree. See the tree there?
Yep.
So that tree, on a nice day in the spring or summer, I parked my work truck beside that tree on the gravel bar right there, and we drag seine nets all along here.
Wow.
And it's out in the field. So now, typically, just so folks know, I like to think of things in volume. So I don't look at these river meters. I look at the discharge. That's about 650 cubic meters per second. When I'm there in the summer, it's around 20 to 30 cubic meters per second. So
Wow.
it is honking. And then there's no, that's not it, right? So this is the parking lot. So that sign is on about 4 foot 4x4 posts. There's about 4 feet of water up to the bottom of that sign, and that abutment right there is usually where I park my truck when I'm working in the river when the water's up a bit. So that whole parking lot, like it's up to the bottom of I made a joke to Trevor. It's like I'm like a rubbernecker on the highway. Like we're on our way home from work. We're on our way home from work, and I'm like, I gotta go see the Grand. I detoured. I have Heather and Trevor with me, so we detoured we go around Brantford usually. We went through Brantford on the way home because I had to get pictures I wanted to see how high the water was getting. I'll be at this site in a couple of weeks, not a couple of weeks, in about a month. And I'll be parking, probably won't park in the river, but I'll be parking right by that abutment over there. It'll all be gone. So now to get down to the parking lot, it's gated, like the county gates it. So vehicles can't go down. You can walk around the gate, but you can't drive down. So we had to walk down the hill. But anyways, just kind of
and does this happen every year, Jay? Is this what you see every year in the spring?
Yeah, it happens every year.
And really, it's indicative of most rivers. I don't know too many rivers that don't exceed their banks in the springtime. You know, to a certain degree, some are worse off than others. But you know, that to me is very similar to what happens up here in our neck of the woods with the credit. It overflows its banks. We've had some events, unfortunately, we'd like to forget about, where it flooded homes and took some people's livelihoods away. So that, unfortunately, is a negative part of it as well. But
well, and it goes to show, like, I know that people don't. Since Hurricane Hazel came in 55 or 56, like, regulations have changed a lot. Like building in the floodplain. And I know that people will complain about building, like when they get told they can't do something, they get really grumpy. But let's be honest, there's a reason why, and there's loss of life and loss of property, and it's huge. And so in rivers like the Grand, the Thames, even the Credit, and even the tributaries of the Grand, I saw videos today in the town of Ayr on the Nith River, which is a big tributary of the Grand. Like, it's spring fresh yet. Like, it's happening. And these places haven't even crested yet. Like, so Alicia, you talked about where you are down in Delaware. Like, if you look at the hydrograph, it's just crested in London, but the Thames below London hasn't crested yet. Like, it's so much awesome power. Like, and I can't believe that I study all these little fish and they're out there in that crazy. How they survive, I have no idea, man, but there's lots of fish there. Like, it's wild how they do it. But I think it's just one of those spectacles that I'm not fishing, but I love going to the river just to watch that spring runoff and just how much damage it does. I think it's kind of cool.
100%. Steph is bringing to light a very traumatic situation that she experienced with you and Trevor. I think everybody's been there when ice is forming and how that can catch you off guard. There's no doubt about that. But with water starting to come up through the hole, that might get the old blood pumping.
Yeah, so when the girls came to visit Trevor and I last year, we were out fishing with a couple buddies, and I walked back in to meet the girls at the lighthouse in Port Rowan. And it was a beautiful day, man. -10, sunny, no wind. It was just a beautiful winter day. And it was glare ice. Had my cleats on, had my spud. I'm walking back, taking my time. And when I got back, we had jumped a pressure crack in the morning, which was barely the width of my desk. And it was still that wide, but the water had come up through the pressure crack. And so now there was like a small lake, like a quarter of an acre of water by the lighthouse. And I'm like, well, that's not good. And I guess when we went back out I said to the girls, well, you're not coming out here today. And I had to convince them, I'll find a way off safe. Everything's going to be fine. We went back out to our hut. And as soon as I sat down from my long walk, big, you know how the ice talks, right? Big boom. And then my phone rings. And I guess what happened was when that ice shifted a kilometer away at the crack, it like shot up. Heather said it was like a geyser. Like the two ice sheets came together and it shot up in the air like a geyser. And needless to say, the girls were not happy with us out there. And so when we came off the ice that night, I was with a group of guys, and this is what I did. Like safety mode kicks on. I'm like, boys, we're not fishing until dark. We're going to be off at dark. I want to be walking back before it gets dark. And when we got back, we had to detour about 200 or 300 yards to the west. And then I still took what I did was, instead of us just casually walking, when we got closer to the pressure crack, I had everyone stay behind me. And I walked with my spud. I had no sled attached to me. I just had my spud and my picks, and I just checked. And I made everyone stay single file behind me. And I checked it first. And I did the whole drill. Like, dude, I got my throw rope out. I had it on top of the sled. I had like everything ready. And I walked Trevor through, okay, Trevor, if this happens, here's what we're going to do. Okay. I walked everyone through it. And I made it across. I went back, got our stuff. We got off and it was fine. But the girls were funny because when I got home, they were tracking us on our phones, like doing like they could see where I was walking and Trevor had stopped. And then we didn't move for a while. So they were worried that we had fallen through technology. So
that's awesome. Very
anyways,
cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Steph did say something about a panda. Is the significance of the panda?
Well, so okay. Do you like to tease your kids? I tease my kids.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. Why else did you have them?
It's right up there with fishing and baseball with me, is like teasing my daughter. Like, so I don't know what she's going on about, but on Monday, March 16th, she keeps saying it's her birthday, but it's also International Panda Day and it's International Corn Dog Day. And I'm like, you can't make me choose. I love corn dogs and I love pandas. So I'm going to be celebrating Panda Day, eating corn dogs. I don't know about this birthday, like 16, whatever. It's big deal. Big deal. So I've been making panda jokes for like 2 weeks around here because every morning she's like, Dad, guess how many days? And I'm like, what, till Panda Day? I can't wait. And I'm going to be eating corn dogs because I had to look up what other dates also happen on March 16th. So anyways.
That's hilarious. Wow.
I'm just kidding. Little Princess is going to I have asked Heather to write an itinerary of all the birthday activities that will happen over the next week. Good Lord.
Wow. Well, Jay, as always, our time flies. I can't believe it's freaking 2 hours already. It's amazing how time absolutely continues to fly. But we will be back here on next Monday, talking about a whole rash of new things. Hopefully not about any ice rescues, but if it does happen, as George said, hopefully it's a happy ending. Anything else you wanted to mention before we leave you?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's like I said, this past weekend was a bit of a bust because ice was all melted, or it was in the process of melting. There wasn't even open water yet. Now there's open water around here, but the rivers are screwed for probably Dude, they're going to be a mess for another week because we're going to
Yeah,
get another. I
at
just got a
least.
rainfall warning tonight, 20 to 40 mils of rain for
Yeah.
Southern Ontario starting tomorrow night into Wednesday. So these rivers are going to, they've crested and they're going to crest again. So I don't know when I'm going to go fishing again for a while, but oh well, it is what it is. So I guess I'll just have to get ready for Panda Day. And
Well, Jay, we want to wish you luck with that.
thanks, buddy.
And as cute as they are, they're
Yeah.
vicious. They're absolutely vicious. So don't get too close.
They are vicious.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
not
are.
as vicious as Stephanie if I forget about you know what. So
I'm not going to
all
touch
right.
that with a 10-foot pole. You take
No,
care,
we
my
won't.
friend.
We won't.
Thanks so
See you,
much
buddy.
for joining us and spending some time. You take care.
Thanks,
buddy.
everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Well, there it is. Yet another show in the books. Thanks so much for everybody who joined us. And of course, all of you with all the comments and questions. Really appreciate that because we want to make this show as interactive as we possibly can. I have great news. Serena, you have managed to extend our first Fish of 2026 giveaway for yet another week. Serena has posted on the post that we made on Thursday, which means we are going to be posting it again on Thursday. And if somebody posts, it's going to extend it another week. We're going to be adding more prizes. The box is going to be quite large by the time we do give it away. But if you have a fish pick, and this is going to be, as Jay just mentioned, this is going to be tough because we're going into a bit of a lull. Seasons are starting to close. Accessibility to fishing is going to be jeopardized just based on everything that's going on. So I don't want to entice people to go out and do something that is going to put you in harm's way. But we do have our first fish giveaway that is still going on. Serena has extended it for one more week. This might be the week, though, that come the following CFN Live, we give all this wonderful stuff away. If you do have a fish pick that you haven't shared yet, by all means, I invite you to do that now or wait till Thursday and the updated post is made, and then you can add it to the comments there and extend it for one more week. In the meantime, guys, have yourselves a wonderful week. Enjoy that wonderful weather. Stay out of the rain, stay dry, and stay out of the rivers and stay off that unsafe ice. Dave, it's time to take us away. All the best. Love you all. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.